This computer, okay. So welcome to this fat burning seminar. We have put together some nice points. So the first thing that I was found very interesting was that in Ayurveda, now understand this and then we'll go to Ayurvedic perspective. So once you eat something, it converts into plasma. So in Ayurveda, what happens is, according to Ayurveda, when you eat, the food has to either digest fully, absorb in your body, or it has to digest and go out as waste, that which cannot be digested. But that which remains half digested is the cause of poison, because it neither goes out, neither gets absorbed, it just floats in your body. Okay, that is the origin of toxins and bad fat. Like obesity today is a pandemic because of bad eating. So that's the main thing, is that undigested food, means half digested, half cooked, half digested. So even when you cook something fully or you eat it raw, but half cooked, it sometimes doesn't taste, doesn't digest. And according to Ayurveda, your body digests the food based on the taste. So that's why too much artificial tastes, the body gets confused, it doesn't digest. So that's why obesity again is a problem, because most of the outside processed food. In fact, there was one of the presentations that I saw in research, a branch of Native Americans, Native American Indians from America, they never had any history of obesity or diabetes. But however, as soon as they were integrated into Walmart and modern society and all this processed food, the first generation started getting diabetes. Now it is attributed to digestional problems because the body is set to nature's cycle. So the problem here is the timing, what we eat, how we exercise, and very importantly, emotion and stress. So what we eat matters, when we eat matters, the stress with which we eat also matters. Like today, if you see most people, when they are today's people, when they are what do you call it, eating, you see them with a phone. It's anxiety. You watch something and eating, that's doesn't digest because your body is already, your juices are unstable. So that causes major problems. So the mood and everything that you eat, of course, matters. So that is why in Ayurveda it says, when you are very emotional, when you are distressed, when you are stressed, do not eat. Okay, eat in a very calm, happy mood, because that gives you the best digestion. Okay, now just a note before we go ahead is there was a big post, a lot of discussions on Facebook yesterday on these fake meats that is in the name of vegan that people are eating. Most of the ingredients, if you see the fake meats, they are all chemicals, very toxic. They're actually made in factories. And that's one of the reasons why people eating alternative, even that is not healthy. So healthy means eating whole grains. So really eating healthy means like whole barley, whole millets. So eat things whole. So that is healthy. Eat fruits, mornings, whole grains for lunch. So all these things. And even this white flour, these are all flour, which are added with so many chemicals. So these all create problems. Now going back to the fat seminar. Okay, so it's a presentation that I put together, and I hope all of you can see this. So today we will talk about fat and fat burning. So proper perspective of what is fat. Okay. Now we have three types of fat. I won't take very long. It'll make it, but I would be open to question answers. I'm looking forward to question answers. So the first, we have three types of fat basically. One is white fat, brown fat, beige fat. This is not based on race, it's based on the actual color. Okay. so, so, so white fat is what most adults have in their body. This is the most of your fat. This is what we call as the adipose tissue. So in Ayurveda, when you eat something, it takes 5 days to convert it into the second stage. So that is called as plasma, blood. Now that takes 5 more days to be converted into muscle. So after like 10 days, so then it begins to be converted into fat. Now in children, there is brown fat, more color of brown fat. So that burns with the, that is more nutritious. I mean, children are protected, so that kind of brown fat. And depending on the diet, because they're mostly taking mother's milk and all that, so that is mostly protective fat. Now, white is, most of our fat is white actually. When you become an adult, this brown fat is like 3 or 4%. It's hardly there. It's around this area, you get that fat. And there is called as beige fat, which is in between white and brown fat. So it's like a catalyst to convert, because brown fat is good fat, like kids have, it's very healthy. Then white fat is what most adults develop. Now, this fat, in fact, has a lot of functions, by the way. It balances the fat in your body. The fat tissue literally covers all your hormonal organs. So there is body fat and there is visceral fat. And because it covers most of your organs, because your organs are very sensitive, that is your pancreas, you have liver, you have all different organs. So all these different organs that are there, they are covered by these fats at different levels. So the visceral fat, and it's the same, mostly the white fat. Okay, but in different places, they perform different functions. In fact, they balance the estrogen, leptin, insulin, cortisol, growth hormone. Okay, so all this is influenced by the amount of fat that you have. In fact, with some of you, I shared a seminar by, I love this guy. He's written this book. His name is Benjamin Bickman. Why do we get sick? Why we get sick? Very beautiful. I don't agree with his diet plan, but I agree with the way he's explained things, is that basically most health issues are due to improper eating, improper lifestyle, and stress levels. So now, basically, every cell in our body has insulin. All that we eat is eventually converted into plasma, glucose, and that needs to be absorbed back into the cells as energy. Emotion, improper diet, too much glucose, all these things, sugar spikes, too much sugary foods, what happens? Your body isn't able to convert that glucose into food for your cells. What does it do? It converts it into fat and stores it. And then when that happens, your stress hormones, all these things are excreted more. So then your body goes into a hormonal imbalance. So that's where it begins. Obesity is due to stress. You see, most people become like, just an example, like in India, the actor Shashi Kapoor or somebody, I think his wife died, and within a year he was like huge, right? Because of stress, then all your functions are low and you just eat to bust that stress. So fats have a lot of function in them, especially the white fat. Brown fat, mostly for kids, it helps to, brown fat is what, like children get hungry very quickly because fat keeps burning. Hmm? Now, in the body, there are three types of fat. It's been divided into. One is called essential fats. Now your brain is also fat. Now bone marrow is fat. Nerves are an extension of the fat, and the membranes that protect your organs are also fat. Okay, so they are all these different kinds of fat muscles. Now, for example, that's why in Ayurveda it advocates good fat, what we call as medas. So once it's converted into muscle, muscle is converted into adipose tissue fat. Now, your muscles, again, the essence of your muscles depends on the diet that you eat. Now, that is why ghee is the most essential fat, because you can imagine what your essential fat nurtures. Your essential fat nurtures your brain, your bone marrow, your nerves, and your membrane that protect your organs. You can see it has a huge impact. Good fat has a very deep and a huge impact because it's essentially your nervous system. So that's why people get weak nerves, because of the bad oils that you use, bad fats that you eat is actually getting converted into your brain tissue, into your nerves tissue, into your membranes that protect your organs. So that is why diet, which should be with nutritious ghee. Okay. Now the next one is, so that is what we call as the essential fats, very critical. The next is subcutaneous fat. So that's in your whole body. So that is internal fat, what we talked about the first one. The subcutaneous fats is fat under your skin. Now that thickness of that, okay. So majority of your body is this fat. So when you pinch, you feel that fat, belly, thighs, buttocks, all these things. And a certain percentage, what we measure it in terms of BMI, right? In your body, if body mass index is too high or too low fat, too high fat is not good. You need a balanced amount of fat. That is what we call as BMI. That's how we measure it, because some people with their certain body size, you need a certain amount of weight to keep the organs in place, to keep them working, and you need a certain amount of fat so that all your body is insulated. Fat is also insulation. Fat is also protection. Fat also helps the nerves work properly. Now, another important fat is the visceral fat. So now this is especially the belly fat. Okay. Now this is very critical, the visceral fat. Now this is white fat, again it's white fat only, but it is stored in your abdomen and all your major organs. Now, if your belly fats are high, now imagine what are the things it gives you: diabetes, heart disease, stroke, artery disease, and cancers. Now this is the most critical. If you really want to get rid of fat in your body, this is what you should target. So we should target the belly fat, because even if your body fat is a little high, it won't damage you so much, as much as your body fat. So that is why Americans get diabetes and stress, diabetes and everything because of overall obesity, because they are huge belly, huge body, huge belly. But in India and many Asian countries, people get diabetes because the body fat is low, but the stomach fat in percentage, in proportion to the body fat, is very high. So if your stomach fat in proportion to the body is high, then that is the biggest problem. And high visceral fats can really risk all these health issues. So basically it covers your pancreas, it covers your intestines. So that is why foods that you eat that are very difficult to digest, they are converted into this bad visceral fat. Because, for example, when you eat at night, When you eat at night heavy, what happens? Your stomach size keeps increasing, because when you sleep, you're sleeping with your full belly, your stomach size is bloated up. And the bigger your stomach size, what happens? All your organs become weaker. So that is why we have to reduce the eating at night. So that is why we have to reduce the eating at night, because what happens is, when you have heavy food at night and your stomach is bloated up, and when you sleep like that, the stomach size increases and it becomes like a pouch. It becomes like a extended pouch. And what does it do? Whenever the food is there, you don't feel satisfied, because once the pouch size is high, is huge, the pouch size is huge, it has to be filled up with something. You feel the necessity for that. Hmm? You feel the necessity for that, and because of that, you have to keep filling it up. You have to keep filling it up. So this is the danger of stomach fat, because eating at night heavy, so that is the first step that you can do to reduce the impact of belly fat. So you can so the best thing you can really do is reduce eating at night, eat less at night, and if you are eating, eat something that is easily digestible. Now don't eat cold things like fruits and other things. One should eat something like soup, something that easily digests, and you should give at least 2.5 hours between that dinner and your sleeping time. Hmm? So that is important. Hmm? So we find here that all the organs, liver, kidneys, pancreas, intestines, heart. Okay, so when all these organs are completely covered, that reduces their efficiency. And what happens is, this does not build up now, but it builds up over a period of time. And after some time, the fats become so hard, so hard. So like if you see, if you keep like something in the fridge for a long time or something, it becomes like really hard, So here also that fat becomes very thick. So that is why after a certain age in your heart arteries, the fats become very, very thick. And they become so thick that then you have to literally remove it by some kind of surgery or something. So you have to melt this fat and reduce the belly size, basically. So this is the biggest culprit in the body. So healthy fat provides what? If you have the right amount of fat, right amount of belly size, it produces temperature regulation, balanced hormone levels, better reproductive health, adequate vitamin storage. You can go into a lot of details about all this. Good neurological function, healthy metabolism, balanced sugar. Okay, all these things are because of healthy fat. Now, essential fat is necessary for a healthy functional body, and subcutaneous fat makes up most of our bodily fat and is found under the skin. Okay. Now, the subcutaneous fat is also the way of body storing energy for later use. So what this means, I will tell you. So visceral fat is found in the abdomen, and it can be dangerous at high levels. A high body fat percentage, and in particular presence of visceral fat, can increase your risk of diseases. Now what this means is stored for later. Now remember this, what is stored for later? So what it means when it says stored for later means, now one of the biggest challenges, I was watching a documentary yesterday, is how you can produce electricity and store it. But because today you have to produce electricity and you have to sell it to the grid, to the people. But how do you produce electricity and store it so that I can use it 10 days later. That is a challenge for today. That is batteries. So what body does is, so body, when you eat extra, it stores it in the form of fat, thinking you cannot digest it now, you do not need it now, let me convert it into fat, let me use it later. Now, but that later never comes. We keep on eating, keep on eating. So that is why there are fasting days in every religious and every spiritual cycle, in every yogic tradition, spiritual tradition, we have Ekadashi and all these. So why? Because the body has these extra fats that need to be burned. And certain days, especially Ekadashi, the 11th day of the moon, the new moon, on these days, deliberately, nature cycles works in such a way that our digestion is weak. And that is the time you actually need to fast. And if we do not fast, if it is a fast day, okay, then we eat potatoes, then we eat this, then we eat that, then what happens? It has the whole meaning of trying to remove that fat, the whole thing goes away. The whole meaning, the whole essence of that actually goes away. So if we want to make the best use of it, so it is said every 15 days minimum fast for 36 hours. That is 36 hours, just water or juices. It is important that we actually fast. Now, if we do not do that, what happens? This fat builds, and it becomes too thick. Now, second is our habits. Now, there are people who do water fast 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Now, after that, what happens? You suddenly eat and the body builds back up. Now, to change once you have cultivated a habit, that is the challenge. So that's why we are doing Chandrayana. We are doing intermittent fasting. So intermittent fasting is a habit change. So Chandrayana is to fast, but also at the same time to change your habits, so that you can change your habits in the long run. You have to cultivate good habits, because if you do not cultivate good habits, then no matter how much ever you do, you build up that fat back. So according to Ayurveda, coming back to the point, now the solution part, every disease happens because of improper digestion, improper excretion, right? So this needs to be corrected. So that is why every day we have to practice some asana, some exercise, pranayama. Now pranayama will take slowly time, because the body has to become strong first. Then the pranayama will become beneficial. But at least we can take care of the diet. Eating at the right time, eating the right stuff. Somehow this whole lockdown has produced stressful eating among everyone. So be disciplined. Be disciplined, and remember, everything depends on your entire lifestyle. So reduced eating at night means your day, you have eaten your good lunch, morning breakfast, you have had light, and by evening you are in a mood to wind down. You want to sleep early, wake up early. So you have, and you know what to eat. So all that has to be there, right? So that is the whole program. That's why we wrote the book Food for the Soul, so that mornings you have something hydrating. And if you, for example, if you eat very heavy in the morning, then what happens? Cooked food, everything, then it builds up a lot of toxins, because digestion is slow in the morning, because your body has to heat up. Now, when we did this asana, you can see your body heats up. And then after some time, you feel really hungry. So that is why mornings you have to build up hunger till lunchtime. Don't eat heavy this, and especially don't eat heavy sugary foods. What is sugary foods? Bread. People take these cereals, bread, milk in the morning. Milk in the morning is very harmful. So reduce that. So they all convert into bad fat. Okay, because that which cannot be digested, that. So basically, when you do this Chandrayana or this fast, intermittent fast, so intermittent fast means you eat in such a way and you give enough time for the body to digest, so that all the fats, so what the body does when it is really hungry and you fast, what it does, it pulls out all these fats and starts breaking them down, because that's what the body needs. So that is why many of the problems like diabetes and thyroid, all these problems can be solved easily by intermittent fasting. So intermittent fasting is really, really powerful, and what you eat also matters. So for example, you should not also bloat up the belly with gassy food. So we should eat more whole grains, green vegetables, and whole fruits. So in that way. So exercise matters a lot. Stress levels also matters a lot. Diet, sleep. So as much as possible, your food should be easily, freshly cooked, easily digestible. What you eat takes 14 to 16 hours to come out of your intestine. So if you keep something back to back to back to back, right? So then what happens? Then there is a lot of gas because it's not digesting, it's converting into toxins. So it's important that once you eat, you become very disciplined. Yoga is all about that. It's all about that discipline. So once you eat, that's it. You keep yourself very clear in your head to keep proper gap between your meals. So when you keep the proper gap, it gives the body enough time to circulate and digest. At the same time, one of the practices that I inculcated recently, which I found very beneficial, is to salt water gargle your mouth 7 to 8 times every morning and evening, because it removes all the bacteria plus all the cough in your facial region, around these regions, sinuses, everything is cleansed by lukewarm or little hot water salt gargling. So these things are very important. Kriya is cleanse. Of course, there is a lot we can do. Mornings, keep your mouth fresh because your eating instinct, your digestion begins with the mouth. So cleanse your mouth and keep your saliva. Your saliva is your first point of 50% of the digestion takes place when the food is covered properly with saliva. That's why don't talk too much when you eat. Don't watch too many other things when you eat, because when you eat, the taste has to come and your saliva has to completely cover the food, and when it falls in covered with saliva, then the digestion actually takes place. Because when you talk too much, you just gulp the food, you don't cover it properly. So that's why when you eat food, you should be very meditative. It should be really slow, calm eating, but it should not be too slow, too fast, because it's a cycle. So once you start eating, you have to like finish that cycle. So be very calm. Have your major lunch before 2, because 12 to 2 is the best time to digest. Clear yourselves. Of course, this is a long other seminar. Another thing which is very important is sleep. If you do not sleep well, so then what happens? Because digestion is low, your vata increases, your toxins do not go out. If your stomach is not clear, then what happens? It reverses the flow of toxins into the stomach back. So that causes a lot of gases and everything. Then acidity becomes a common thing. So that is why never give up on sleep. So if you sleep late, wake up late. If you sleep early, you wake up early. So do not eat heavy at night. That increases your need for sleep. Reduce sleep. And if you do not sleep well, then it causes many other problems that we can see. So we have to be very careful in this. As we can see, the different levels of fat, different fats that we have. When they are in balance, if we lead a balance, so even if we miss out here and there, if we end up eating a little too much, there is a party, we have our wedding anniversary like we had, and we ate like anything, but next day we woke up late to give balance for that. So in this way, there needs to be a balance, especially with the fat. Intermittent fasting, eat only regulated, and that's the whole goal of Chandrayana. And also do not miss out on your yoga practice. Do not miss out at all. Focus on getting a good regulated yoga practice every day. Okay, so that's the main thing. All right, so I will stop here. So any comments, questions, welcome.
Prabhuji, a quick question on the Ekadasi. What are the steps for Ekadasi for the diabetic people? Like, say, if we do fasting like a 36 hours, will be create more problems for diabetic people, right? Are there any?
So that is why we have the chia water.
Okay, chia water.
See, when you do dry fasts, that is the problem. Okay,
Okay.
so that is why exactly we did that chia water thing and smoothies. But smoothies can be also sugar. You don't want to avoid sugar. So the chia water is especially designed to sustain you during a 36 hour. You can even do. I did chia water for 1 month.
Ah, okay.
Okay, I just 1 month I just drank chia water and it was. I mean, I ate 1 or 2 fruits in between when I felt I was going to die, but but then this chia water is enough for the body, what the body needs to break down.
Okay.
So what if you watch this this guy, he says intermittent, actually he says diabetes gets worse with medicine because you are just reducing sugar levels without really treating the root cause.
Right.
The root cause is indigestion.
Yeah.
And that indigestion is basically where you have messed up the cycle, stress. So it says the first factor is right diet. Second factor is stress levels, reduce stress levels. Third is exercise. So diet is critical, intermittent fast is critical. Then stress levels, reduce stress levels. Don't take too much, and then exercise.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Any other questions, comments?
Yeah, Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Yeah, quick question. So why is this belly fat so easily formed and so difficult to get rid of?
So basically today's diets, so basically today's foods, what we eat, actually we don't realize they are sugar rich. For example, India had 5,000 varieties of rice before. So even if people ate rice, so that was like red rice mostly. Now what we eat rice is actually polished white rice, which is just sugar, which is plain sugar. There's nothing in that. They take out the rice bran also. Second was white flour was not very prominent before, right? One of the things that I found in my research was that wheat gluten is very difficult for the belly to digest. But somehow we end up eating a lot of wheat. Now this was, and if you go back to the history of why wheat became so, wheat flour chapati, it is all in the 60s and 70s when India got into the green revolution and then wheat was grown in monocropping. But unfortunately, what they did, it was hybrid. It was GMO, number one. Second, it was a lot of fertilizer-based growth. So what wheat we were getting was actually those GMO one, which was actually causing gluten. So that's why gluten has become a big issue. It's not, it's just that they are very difficult to digest. Instead, what was the main diet when I did research? I'll tell you one thing. When I went to Maharashtra, Aravade, Loknath Swami's birthplace, to that temple, I was doing a seminar and then I went to visit the local farmers. They had a small garden of vegetables. I said, what is this? He said, we use this garden to feed our family. I said, what is the difference between what you grow for selling and what is this? He said, we use only gobar in this. We don't use chemicals. And what they grow to sell, they use only chemicals. They don't use gobar. So you can imagine they actually the kind of food that you get, first of all, is very toxic. So that's very difficult to digest. Then the food that we eat, for example, tomatoes, cauliflower, potatoes, rice, wheat. Now this is our main consumption. These convert into very high sugars. These convert into very high sugars, especially also And what happens when the sugar is high? Sugar is stored in the body as fat. And because we eat a little more than what we need to, and because of the stress levels of today, that's one thing you have to consider. And also we have today all of us have a habit of heavy dinner. So because of the heavy dinner, the type of food and the stress, when you count, what happens? The food doesn't go anywhere. It stays in the belly, right? So that is why I said the first step is to reduce dinners. Dinner should be 50% of your lunch. So you can see, I saw this practically. There was a doctor who was my friend. He had such a big belly, literally protruding out, And month and a half later, I see his belly has almost gone back. I said, "What, did you do some operation?" He said, "No, all I did was quit dinner." He quit dinner because he was like, really, it was protruding out like Surpanaka. So he said, "I have to end this." So within a month, it went away. So it was basically the heavy dinner eating. Plus, he reduced on high carb. So basically, high carb is potato, rice, and gas producing foods like cauliflower. So he reduced that. He ate more millets and more green vegetables, and that was it. So if you shift to less sugar, less carb, more millet and vegetables, the belly fat will go. I hope that answers.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Yeah, perfectly answered.
All right. So any other comments, questions?
Thank you, Prabhu, for a wonderful session. I was drenched in sweat after the first yoga practice of my 37 years on Mother Earth. Hopefully it'll get better.
Yeah, that's good.
No, very, very, very interesting. A couple of questions. You mentioned your friend who completely disregarded dinner.
Mhm.
Is that advisable if one can do it at this stage, or could it cause imbalances?
It won't cause any imbalance. So the thing is, basically, for example, when I did my 1 month fast, so what I had in night, sometimes you get very hungry. So what I had was like one avocado or one apple, right? Things like that. So in that way, you don't feel, but you keep yourself hydrated with the chia water rest of the day, So if you do that, so then you gradually, so now after all that fasting, so now for dinner, what I do, I usually have just a cup of milk, pretty much with a spoon of ghee. That too, like not every day now. Just have like very little, like soup or something like that, very little. That's one way. You cut down it to such a degree that it's just enough to that you feel comfortable to go to sleep. Hmm? But sometimes it should not be that I fast and then midnight I feel hungry. So we should have that. So that is why taking a little, like a filler, like avocado is good fat. That's beneficial. So avocado is like a filler. So it can be very tasty also. So you just have something like that. Also, I found like a guava is good, if you want to. So if one can take it, because he was determined. This friend of mine, he had no other option. He knew it was bad, so he worked at it, and he cleared that stomach. So it's determination, but it will only give good results. There is intermittent fasting. Our body needs one good lunch, basically speaking, and lot of fluids. We need fluids for sure. So that's the main thing we need to keep balanced.
Yeah. I'm so amazed at the chia water. It's the first, I've been trying it for 2 days, and I thought I'd be so hungry, but actually it's suppressing the hunger. So just the point. The other point was, I saw on Facebook yesterday, someone put something up about, we're happy to go and spend $100 or £100 on our wedding anniversary in a restaurant, but we are, especially Gujaratis like me from Gujarat, we're very shy to put our money hand in our pocket to buy good organic vegetables, which potentially cost double.
Mhm.
So I know you've touched on that point, but how serious is eating non-organic vegetables bought from a supermarket for our health?
See, now there is a difference between the West and the East in this. Okay. Now in America and UK to a certain degree, organic, what they use as fertilizer is something very dangerous. They use, in the name of organic, all the waste from the meat industry, practically all the waste, the bones and the blood from the meat industry. It is blood and bone meal. So that is what they use as organic fertilizer. Now this was a shocker for me when I came, and that's what they use in the name of organic, and that's why, and they sell it at a premium price. Now when you talk about organic in India, it is basically gobar. They use cow dung, cow urine, manure. Now even when you make natural compost and make vegetables, now that's different. But in America, organic means this. So in one sense, there is not so much difference when you look at the blood and bone meal, what kind of compost they use. But what difference it makes is if you see underground vegetables like these potatoes, mooli, radish, so these are all gassy. So underground ones, they are even worse, right? So that those are really bad. There's too much fertilizer, too much of these things. So it's better to go for green. It really, there is a very thin difference between organic and non-organic. But it's better to go for green vegetables. Better stop using potato or all these gassy ones, cauliflower, these things. Rarely, okay, once in a while, just want to have some of these, it's fine. But for a regular eating, green vegetables, millets, dal, this should be good enough. Yeah.
Even with the green vegetables, are you saying that even organic, spiritually for us, it's not good because it's all these meat products?
Yeah.
But in terms of how it affects our body, is the organic, are you saying it's as bad as the not normal?
See, the animals, what they collect, all these meal, all this waste, that's also toxic, right? The blood, this, that, it's all chemicals, and and they somehow preserve it and try to dry it out, and so it really is a very thin difference. It's not really much of a difference. So the only choice literally we have is more green vegetables and more things that we want to use, but apart from that, when you talk about organic, non-organic, this was told to me by a scientist who was working in Seattle, and he tested all this. He said they are also toxic because of all the blood and bone meal that they serve, that they do it in. So you have to only see, like, maybe in some places how fresh you get it. That's all. Right? In some places they sell it really like once it's been quite some time, right? So the fresher ones are better, but otherwise, like we said, that's why Prabhupada was very insisting that devotees grow their own food and all that, but frankly speaking, it's really tough to recognize. But yes, organic is, you can say, slightly better than gross chemical ones, but we are left with a very little choice. But at least we can choose what we want to eat. Like, for example, squashes, they don't have too many chemicals. Squash, pumpkins, all these bigger vegetables, they don't have too many chemicals. Then all these quinoa, millets, they are not chemicals. So, but that which is grown in like wheat, rice, they are all monocrop, lot of chemicals. Certain things you don't need chemicals; they just grow. So those things are easy. Like I said, the squash and certain green vegetables. I have to check out the list, uh, most of them are almost similar.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, all right. So that was nice, good questions. So that makes you enthusiastic. Thank you for.
Prabhu, if I could summarize what you said, so
Uh,
for the people who can afford to have a garden, have
mhm.
your garden, and then have cow dung manure. Have cow dung manure
Yes,
as a fertilizer, and then use organic seeds. Probably that's the best way.
yes. Perfectly,
Okay.
perfectly. Right. So that is very critical because
Mm.
when you grow in your own garden, that is fresher. You know what manure you are putting, and what manure you put, that is what it grows with, right? So
Yes.
that's the main thing. So yes, if we can manage our vegetable needs from our own garden, nothing like it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
You're trying. You're
Yeah.
trying here.
Yeah. I know you were saying last time. That's the
Yeah,
best.
I just planted another garden. Other day I made another area. So trying. But I didn't know about this fertilizer stuff, so that's good information.
Oh,
I'm gonna make sure I only get
oh
that.
no, it is in the US and Europe. It's, oh my God, it's they have taken over the meat industry has literally enveloped everything. Mm.
Okay,
Yeah.
got it. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. So thank you all so much for joining, and we'll see you all later this week. All those who are in Chandrayana and others will see. We'll see you on Saturday again. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Dandavat.